Well, goodness, my software was being a little rude this morning, so of course that's kind of um, the name of the game in live television, folks. I hope some of you have been able to join us today. I think it'll be a really good lesson here. Let me see here. We're just gonna give everybody a minute to pop back over. If you're around, just let me know. You can always say something in the chat. I do have the chat turned on, but if not, no big deal. No big deal. Anyway, it did take me 8 minutes to get this working, so you know, I totally understand. Let's get me switched over to on camera. There I am. Yay! All right, ladies and gentlemen. I am really glad that we are able to host these things from the corner of my sewing room, and maybe someday I'll get it cleaned up enough that you can look that way. It is just a good day. The weather is awesome outside, but that doesn't mean you can't, of course, get some good sewing inspiration. I wanted to let you know at the shop we do have several good promotions going on. We have a gift with purchase with the Bernina 790 and Bernina 880 Plus, where you get a free suitcase set as well as a half off coupon for Bernina version 9. So if you're really wanting to get into embroidery and make your own designs, really be creative with that process, that is a very valuable coupon. Another item you get with it, I believe, is the embroidery bundle. So you'll be starting with almost all the supplies you need. Of course, I always pick projects where you need like extra stuff, but you know, that's just me. I'm a little extra. Of course, if you would like the handouts from this presentation, the PowerPoint, and the video, you can get the CD from the store. I know that's very old school, but physical media is really nice. And of course, if you post a project in our group, you can get the information for free. Otherwise, you can give us a call if you can't come to the store, or you can just pop by and pay the $10 for the month, the whole month, not one club like we used to do, the whole month. So that's kind of fun. Today we are going to talk. I'm going to adjust this. Here we go. This is my project. I made this several years ago. You may remember it was green. I have dyed it. I actually like it a lot more. It goes with my usual clothes. I don't know why I get really matchy sometimes, but I just felt like I needed more, I don't know, of the same colors, and I didn't have any. So I over dyed this, which is a very good way to kind of make your excuse me, make your projects new and exciting again. Also, sorry. Today's project, we're going to talk about sewing with vinyl and leather. So we're actually going to talk about the commuter bag from Sallie Tomato. That is this lovely bag right here. We will be talking, like I said, about the commuter bag from Sallie Tomato, which is this lovely bag right here. It is a great size. I can fit just about anything I like to carry in here. I don't like to get too fussy with carrying stuff. My extra large iPhone fits perfectly in here with some extra room, because you know they're just going to keep getting bigger. That's how things are. And this one is actually made with real leather from Tandy off of Reno. And this one here that is in process is made with the Sallie Tomato vinyl. The Sallie Tomato vinyl is 100% polyester, and even though it is thick, let me back up here, it is definitely something your Bernina can handle. Also, the leather is something your Bernina can handle. So let's talk about how to do that and the best ways we can do it. Okay, so let me just a second here. Switch over. My keys aren't working, so boop. Hope you guys are getting the picture here. I can't really tell. So anyway, this is, like I said, the commuter bag from Sallie Tomato. It is a pattern that we do carry. It is just great. I really enjoy Sallie Tomato's patterns. Her instructions are phenomenal. I think that you guys would definitely get a lot out of them. I don't know if you guys know, but the designer behind Sallie Tomato used to work with Nancy Zeman of Sewing with Nancy. And I really credit Nancy Zeman with the fact that her instructions are so great. And I will show you a couple pictures of the instructions. Not going to give it away, but I really do enjoy Sallie Tomato's patterns. So your basic supplies for sewing leather and vinyl. Of course, you need a leather needle for either vinyl or leather. There's a difference between leather and vinyl. There's a big difference between the leather needles and the denim needles and the top stitch needles. Leather needles actually have a scarf. That's the area above the eye, like where it dips in on the back. I should have brought my giant needle. I could point at it. Big cut out there. On a leather needle, that's actually sharp. It's sharpened so that it will puncture, because we're not dealing with a textile. We are dealing with a membrane. This is actually skin, you know, so we need something a little more powerful so that we can get through it. And like I said, either vinyl or leather, it's good to have a leather needle. Depending on the thickness, you're going to want to use a size 90/14, or I usually just default to a 116, which is a really nice size, especially when you are sewing leather, and I will talk about that bag in just a little bit here. We need strong thread. Strong does not mean big around. Also, I really hate adjusting tension. That's one of the reasons I have a Bernina. I do love the fact that the tension is so easily adjustable on my screen, but I don't really want to have to play with it. You know, when I sit down to sew, I want to make my thing. I don't want to do like 100,000 test sews and whatever. If you do decide to use a larger thread, I recommend using like a 40 weight cotton or even like 30 weight cotton on top and a nice regular 50 weight thread on the back. I don't recommend going all the way down to 60, but that'll give you that big heavy top stitch look without you having to mess with your tension too much. I just used on these bags, I believe on the leather bag, I used 40 weight Metler cotton on the top and Metricine on the bottom. Metricine is polyester and it is super duper strong. And I used only Metricine on the yellow bag. So that's, you know, something to keep in mind. If you use Metricine and a cotton thread together, they are not going to saw each other in half. You don't have to worry about that. Another tool you are going to have handy is your presser foot leveler, which is that cute little 3 layers of plastic braided together that came with your sewing machine. And you're probably like, what the heck is this? Or hump jumper. And I will show you pictures and show you how to use that in a little bit. Most of our problems with sewing thick items is not actually the power of our Berninas. They are super powerful. It is the hill we got to climb with that presser foot. And there are options for feet with bigger hinges, which is something we will talk about. Speaking of, it's really nice to have a machine with dual feed for this process. And if you do not, some kind of Teflon foot, we have a variety of Teflon feet from Bernina, as well as roller feet. There was a roller foot with a wheel on the left for making piping. It was actually originally designed for sewing gloves, which is why it's like a training wheel for free motion quilting, and you can do a 360 turn real easy with it. That's the number, oh no, oh, it's the number 55. Woo, okay. But today I mostly just used regular feet because I was using feet with the dual feed, so I didn't have to use Teflon. Now on the leather, there was a couple of steps where I had to use Teflon, and you'll see a picture of that. Wonder clips or some kind of clips, I find when I am being a little, maybe chintzy is the right word, and I use binder clips, I end up with marks on my material. Wonder clips from Clover will not do that, so that's something to keep in mind. But the big thing is with leather and vinyl, they scar. Those holes that your needle makes and pins make do not close. I'm going to say that again. The holes your needle and your pins make are not going to close. That being said, when we are positioning things on there, like if you have an applique you want to add, awesome, like this, the pocket on the front of this bag, or the straps, you want to use some kind of sewing glue. And again, I'm going to say sewing glue because we don't want to damage our sewing machines or mess up our needles. Anyway, this is, like I said, the commuter bag. It has a nice big pocket, nice square bottom, super easy one-day make that looks amazing. The black bag here I made with pigskin and a very thin calfskin is the metallic. And that was 2 hides from Tandy Leather when they had a sale a couple years ago, and they've just been sitting in my office waiting to become the perfect bag, and I think this really is the perfect use of those fabrics. The other thing I really love about this bag is there's no major hardware concerns. There is just one big magnet, which we will talk about in a little bit. The one thing I love about Sallie Tomato bags, her patterns, is her organization. She provides the little squares that I can, with the names and the sizes of all my pattern pieces in case they come off, because I do have a cat that likes to help. He helps a lot. With the measurements so I can find it if the little paper disappears from the fabric. But I, am not big into organization, if you haven't noticed, from being in the store. Anyway, sorry. Live. I should have had more water. Anyway, these little clips are super great for holding the tags on there. She provides the tags, and actually there's not any instructions on the back of the tag, so you can actually just cut that right out. I always make a copy, and I copy all the pattern pieces I need, the lining base, as you can see on this page. When you do make a copy of her patterns, it will say void on it a whole bunch of times because of magic. But I'm not selling them. I'm not giving them away. They are from my personal library. And I just I don't like to chop up my patterns if I can avoid it. With the Sallie Tomato vinyl, I just wanted to show you guys that you can actually fuse the fusible fleece onto the back. I used black because we were out of white, and you cannot see through vinyl. So like this, it is completely opaque. Just awesome material. I think that you'll really enjoy it using it. Of course, I did not have my iron on high So I did have to hold it on there a little longer, and I did use a pressing sheet because, again, I don't want to melt anything. But the vinyl is polyester. It is not a different plastic that's just gonna. So don't, if you get some from somewhere else, make sure you know the fiber content. I do have a growing amount of Sallie Tomato vinyls and hardware at the store. So be sure to check out our selection. We've got 3 of the cowhide colors and I think 4 of the different plain vinyl. I know I have obviously the brown and the yellow. I believe there is navy, and then the cowhide in olive and black, brown and white, and then the classic Holstein black and white. Another thing I really love about her patterns is that she reminds you of your seam allowance with every single step. So when I make these at the store and I'm interrupted 100,000 times, I can definitely always get back to where I was quickly. I don't have to flip through that booklet over and over and over again. That is something that I really love, and I think that really speaks to her as an educator. Oh no. Oh no. So that is the fabric glue that I used. I'm just going to reattach my keyboard here gently. So this is sewing that pocket on. I did use, like I said, that Roxanne glue. It's not the tackiest, but I don't really want it to stay in there forever. I want to be able to wipe it out. If I can get to the underside of it, obviously. I like to use the Choco markers. They are Clover Choco liners. I love that they are refillable, and we do have the refills, and it's available in 5 colors. So there's going to be something that contrasts with your material. I really like these a lot. I have all the colors. I always do a test to make sure the color I have picked will come out of the fabric, just dusting it off. I also don't rake it back and forth because it's got a little wheel in it, and that's what deposits the chalk. It's pretty cool. Always do that to make sure when I do my test that it will come out. I don't want a whole bunch of markings on my finished items where I can see them. Nobody does. And these, like I said, they dust off real easy. There is my Roxanne glue stick. I have the glue sticks and I have the dabbers in a couple of sizes. And they are really handy for things like holding these straps down, because I need to sew an X where that pink line is on the top there, and that will hold it in place. Another supply you're going to need is, of course, a ruler that has very, very clear 1/8 inch markings. The Kate England cut for the Cure rulers, as long as yours are newer than mine, you should be able to see the edges. Mine are more than 20 years old, which I'm so glad they still work. And they are great. But I've lost a lot of the tiny lines on the outside, and they actually have 16th inch marks. But these are Creative Grids rulers, and they have very clear 1/8 inch marks. And as you can see, it has a nice grippy on it so that I don't slide around while I'm using it. For sewing through thicknesses, remember, vinyl and leather are not the same. Leather came from an animal. It is made to be tough. It is made to be the outside of a being to keep them alive and together. The vinyl is not. It's just a bonded, usually polyester, sometimes polyamide material. On the yellow bag, I never had to get this out. This is that little seam gadget, the hump jumper, presser foot leveler, if you will. I only needed 1 of the 3 thicknesses for this seam. This is on one of the last steps. This is sewing the top stitching around the top of the bag. and I'll show you that in just a minute on my actual bag. Using my zipper foot because I wanted to be edge stitching, but I needed a lot more stability. So I was using the wide zipper foot with the dual feed machine to get that nice 1/8 inch. And when I got to those corners, my presser foot was at such an angle that it didn't want to climb that hill. And that is really where we get stuck. So how do I start thick seams? Oh, wait. Real quick, when you are using a hump jumper, your machine can absolutely sew through this. It is just nylon. You always want to hold up the back of the foot behind the needle. Back of the foot behind the needle. I like to use it on the right side most of the time. There are times when you'll put it on the left, but usually it's the right. And you just take a couple stitches and move it forward. And it is totally worth the extra time to get your stitches absolutely straight and definitely the same length. So how do I start those thick seams? Or I think I'm sewing on the fabric, but my machine is stitching in place. This looks like my presser foot is level. And to be truthful, it is not. So here it is. When I go to the side, you can see that the presser foot is actually up at quite an angle. That is tilted as much as that presser foot will actually tilt. All the way up. Yep, see? I can push it down, but I can't push it up anymore. So it's really not going to enjoy sewing that. So what I'm going to do is lift my presser foot, scoot my fabric forward, and instead of sewing down the seam, I'm going to sew backwards. I'm going to sew a little bit forward, and then I'm going to back up immediately. And that's going to give me the top stitching all the way to the edge of the seam. I might need to give it a little bit of help to get going again, but that way I can go ahead and stitch all the way forward, and it looks great. So that's how you take care of that problem. 1/8 inch seams when you need more support. This is me sewing the base, the stabilizer or interfacing really that goes in the bottom of this bag. I used Timtex because I wanted something really supportive because I do plan on carrying my laptop in these bags. And I need something a little heavy, a little sturdy. I'm going to bring one to Bernina University in Palm Springs. Woo! In July, which I'm really excited about. I haven't seen my Bernina friends in, oh my gosh, a long time. But what I do when I need more support from the, as I sew around to hold all my materials together, especially when I'm using things like vinyl that are kind of slippery, is I go ahead and I use the number 1 foot and I move my needle to the right +2. This gives you 1/4 inch. Now this is not a scant 1/4 inch like quilters use. In your bag patterns, when it says, or at least in Sallie Tomato land, when it says 1/4 inch, it means 1/4 inch. It does not mean a smidgen less than 1/4 inch. It doesn't mean 1/4 inch when folded, and it does not mean 1/4 inch on a machine that was manufactured incorrectly over 70 years ago, where the foot is actually less than 1/4 inch. It is a regular 1/4 inch. For 1/8 inch, our 1D and 1C foot, that inside of the front toe there is 1/8 inch from the center mark of the needle. I swear Bernina makes these feet with the idea that it's going to be easy for you to sew and make your projects. Everything has a reason. I wanted to add a little personal note, a little secret message on the bottom of my bag. There are several designers that I really like that add these things to the bottom of the bag, purses, and specifically shoes. I have a huge collection, possibly embarrassing collection, of John Fluvog shoes, and they all have positive messages on the soles. And I just wanted to continue that in my bag. So here is how we do that. So because this is a funny way to look at this, because I didn't want to have to worry too much about lining things up and having it be perfect, I did go ahead and do a nice Dutch angle, which I do a lot of, where my lines are basically the same distance apart, and I did use a ruler and I marked my baseline where my foot is going to go across. But as you can see, it's at an angle, so even if I get a little off, the eye is not going to catch it as easily. So there's that mark, those marks there. I used my chocolate liner. So I used the combo program on my machine. Almost all of our machines have this. The 5 series use this spongier stylus if you want to use a stylus. So real quick, scooting back. Okay. That little plus sign there, that is the combi mode. And once I have selected it, you see my stitch disappears. I'm going to go to the alphabet that I want to use, and I'm going to type out my words. If I want to see what I'm doing, I'm going to fly that menu out to the left by pressing the arrow. That way I can kind of see what I'm looking at. Those of us who are of a certain age, we're familiar with word processors that look like this. And it do need to go through and type things out. The other thing I like about fly away or fly open mode is that I can see, I can click between uppercase, lowercase, and my symbols, so I don't have to scroll through constantly back and forth to get to the space. And I just go ahead and type everything out. There we go. It is a little hard to do this with a camera between you and the machine, just so you know. I really enjoy adding these little messages. I usually don't put a period at the end of my sentences. You totally can, but I usually don't. And when I'm ready to stitch it out, I'm ready to stitch it out. I can tell it how many repeats I want to do, and have it just do those repeats. And I'm going to have it make a knot at the beginning so that I don't have to worry about reverse, which is something that I really, really prefer. Of course, when I am messing around, if I make a mistake, I can scroll through, select the eye, and select trash for what is highlighted. I can also tap this little icon here, the 3 squares, which will select everything and throw it away when I'm ready for my next line. I can also save these as personal programs, and I do have several sayings saved in my machine at home. Say I've made a mistake. Say I need to add a space. When I move that cursor around, it is always going to put the letters after the cursor. It will also delete what is to the right of the cursor. So that is something to keep in mind as you are working. Always double check before you sew, especially on vinyl. I like to go ahead and stitch it out on a scrap and make sure that I know exactly how large it is. A lot of the machines will actually give you the full millimeters there, 141.6 millimeters long, so I can measure it and make sure that it's going to work on my project. Again, measure twice, cut once, and you won't have to redo the bottom of your bag, because I don't like wasting Timtex. As I stitch through, it's going to show me the letter I'm on, which is super great. I know exactly where I am in my design. I keep calling it my design, my stitches. And I really do like these. They look really good. It does give you kind of a, I don't think vintage is the right thing to say, but it gives you a very, very personalized look, and the stitching looks really nice. I haven't had anybody be like, I can't read it. And this is, like I said, it's available on almost all of the Bernina sewing machines. And then you end up with this super cool thing. And if you want to put a message on the inside, if it's something that you're giving as a present, you want to say with love from so-and-so or their name, you can totally do that on the lining. It is just a great way to add to your project. And there it is, all finished. So when we are attaching that bottom, do not be shy with the clips. Do not be shy. Go nuts. Have a bunch of them. If you only own 6, like if you have some from taking a class with Martha Sheriff, Mad Cow Designs, you might only have 6 on you. And if you notice around the bend there on the short ends, I have 6, doesn't even get halfway around. But if that's the case and you're just going for it, make sure you stop and re-clip. Honestly, I don't think you're going to be able to do this bag with only 6. This is a much bigger project, and we sell the clips in 10s, 50s, and 100s. I love these things, and I have bought more than one pack of 100 so that I have them at every machine I use in my sewing room, even though it's only 10 by 12 feet of room. I have more than one set because when you need it, you need it. As you are sewing around the bottom, the instruction says that it is easier to have the base of the bag against the machine, and it took me longer than I would like to admit to figure out what that meant, and this is what it means. The bag is turned wrong side out with the base against the bottom of the machine, and I used my zipper foot again to sew around the bottom. If I had a machine with a narrower presser foot, it would probably be pretty okay, but the 570 uses a 9mm foot, just like the 570, 770, 590, 790, a whole bunch of machines. The zipper foot for those is really awesome. If your needle is in the left position, that is actually 3/8 of an inch from the other side. So that gives you that seam allowance on the bottom. And anytime you're making these bags and you think to yourself, gosh, I wish I had a skinny foot. Well, you do have a skinny foot. You have a zipper foot. It is very skinny. When you switch to other machines, you'll find if you I said I've used light industrial machines before that have really, really skinny feet. I find that I can't sew in a straight line very well because they're not supported by those nice fat feed dogs. And I like to be able to sew whatever I want, which is why I like using domestic machines. They're balanced and they can do a whole bunch of different stuff instead of one thing really well. There it is. So there you can clearly see that my needle is in the far left position, which gives me that 1/8 inch from the edge, all the way around. Now my fabric's a little bunched because it's the bottom of the bag and it was a little slippery. All I needed to do though was increase my presser foot pressure, which, on our machines is so easy to do. If you don't have presser foot pressure and you are experiencing problems, try different feet. And also make your stitch length shorter, not longer. That will help as well, because then you'll have more stitches per inch holding your item together. With vinyl, we don't want to go real close together, but if you go down from 2.5 to even 2.2, you'll find that it's a little grippier as you're sewing around. So anyway, at the end of this whole process, there I am, we'll end up with these lovely totes. And like I said, I do have this material at the shop, and I'm going to finish this today. You know what I forgot to say? As you are sewing around it, there is this heavy magnet right in here. So it is a big bar. I strongly suggest that you use either a machine with adjustable presser foot pressure and crank it all the way up so that you can sew around it, because at some point the pole is going to be facing the machine, and our stitch plates are made out of real steel, so it's gonna grip. If it grips too hard, if it's too much, cut a little piece of cardboard and put it on top of here and just scoot it around as you go around the magnet, and that is gonna take care of it. Another thing to keep in mind when we are finishing this, one of our last steps is to turn this bag right side out through a space in the facing. Leather, unlike vinyl, leather will tear like paper. So you need to have a bigger space than the pattern says. Think about this big, about 8 inches, to turn this bag right side out, or you will end up having to do a minor repair or replacing your facing. And I only had one piece of this leather, so I didn't have enough to buy extra. And when I'm using something made from animals, I like to make sure that I do it correctly. I do it well, and I don't mess up, because I'm, you know, this is precious. So I do this so I can use this bag for years and years and years, not so I can make a bunch of mistakes and have to start over. Anyway, it's just, like I said, it's a great project. I really hope you guys enjoy making it, and like I said, I've got those items at the store, and I know this was kind of a long video today, but I hope it was worth it. Anyway, you guys have a great Thursday.